Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor. I don't know if I've ever told you this before, but when I go to like XRP Las Vegas, the number one question, I'm talking 85 to 90% of the time, the number one question I'm asked when I first meet someone is, how is your son doing with his baseball? And the reason for that is that in the first years of this channel, when my son was probably 12-ish, I was always talking about how I was in the baseball cage pitching to him and all that stuff. So here's an update. My son is now 19 years old. He plays JUCO baseball. He's in his sophomore year. And so this is the year, for those of you that don't know, when you play JUCO, you're basically going to JUCO to develop and to try to get recruited to the next level or to the MLB. And so his goal has always been to eventually end up at a NCAA school, preferably Division I. And it's not a short path; it's a long path to achieve that. You got to work on getting your speed up and all that stuff. Well, he's probably gained at least 3 or 4 miles an hour over the first year in JUCO, and so now he's getting into that zone where he could play at Division III and Division II. And he's like right there where he could possibly get into the Division I arena. Could take him another year. We're not sure. So my plan all along was, and I told this to my son from the time he was in a batting cage when he was 12 years old. I said, you've got to cover all facets. This is not just about teaching you how to be a good baseball player. This is about teaching you how to achieve anything in life and the focus and the persistence that's involved in doing anything well. And you got to cover all the bases, from having a good attitude, treating your coaches with respect, making really good grades. And my plan all along was to try and leverage my son being smart and making good grades and baseball, combine the two, and maybe give him a shot at getting into a school that he wouldn't have been able to get into otherwise. So I have now initiated the DAI marketing plan because I'm helping him in the recruiting process. I've learned a lot in social media all these years, learned a lot about marketing all these years. And so I'm kind of his secret weapon, and there's already probably 10 schools that there's a dialogue with. So things are looking interesting, and some are Ivy League on that list. And so, and I don't know how hard it is to do that. Maybe it's harder than I think. We're going to find out, though. So I think he's got some interesting possibilities ahead. So that's the update. Here's the update on XRP. We're at 303. This market has crossed back over 4 trillion. I'm looking, by the way, on CNBC right now. One of the Winklevoss brothers, I don't know if it's one or both, is on CNBC right now. I'm going to want to watch that after I do this video. So the market is you can tell it's like an engine warming up in the cold winter. This thing is warming up. We've got all kinds of ETF stuff that's imminent, probably next week. Interest rates probably being decreased. You can feel it. Legislation being worked on. Well, here, we've heard about the Dom and Phil Kwok and their $1,000 XRP prediction by 2030. They went on the Thinking Crypto show, and he basically said, okay, we know about that. What are you thinking here this cycle for XRP? And here's their thoughts.
Exchange, you give an XRP price prediction of $1,000, I believe, by 2030. To your point of, this lawsuit being over, XRP has performed really well this bull market cycle. It's been one of the leading altcoins. Do you have a price prediction for this cycle that you can share? What are you guys thinking?
Not for this cycle in particular. I think, that's maybe something that, I guess we're still formulating.
Sure.
But, can release that eventually. But I think for us, one of the big things is, having that institutional adoption come into the space. both in terms of the technology, but then also in terms of the investment side. A lot of funds are looking now to actually deploy capital into different tokens. And one of the big drivers, obviously, of token price is not only retail excitement, which has obviously driven a lot of the excitement around XRP and around other tokens, but also on the institutional side. So making sure that funds can actually, number one, invest in tokens other than Bitcoin and Ethereum. And I think a lot of the legal teams inside those funds, well, not think, but know, a lot of those legal teams are now looking at ways that they can actually deploy capital into other tokens. And that's going to obviously create a huge inflow of new capital. So, getting the mandates updated internally, making sure that legal then approves investments in these different products is going to all be huge positive catalysts. Because right now, you turn on TV and you see on Bloomberg or CNBC, everyone's just talking about Bitcoin and Ethereum. Those are pretty much the only two tokens that anyone...
what have I been telling you, folks? They only talk about Bitcoin and Ethereum, and he says they also throw in Solana. He knows.
Really talks about, sometimes they'll talk about Solana, but I think what we're going to start to see is them actually talking about other tokens like XRP big time, because those are ones that, you just can't ignore.
I think I predicted that too. You're going to see this script flipped. All of a sudden, CNBC and all of them, all you're going to be hearing about is XRP.
And obviously now the SEC lawsuit has been, removed essentially from all of their, screens. That's something they don't have to worry about, and they can actually now start to really talk about it, but then also put money behind those words. And I think that's going to be another massive tailwind for XRP and for other altcoins as well. I think as well, we're going to start to see developers take note of that, and obviously developer activity very closely follows token price as well.
Yes.
And so when a token starts to move up in a big way, developers also start to come and follow that. So token price is obviously a really important thing that I think, blockchains don't always want to necessarily admit they focus on, but
Sure.
Ultimately they have to focus on it, because a token that's, at all-time lows is never going to obviously reflect well on the technology.
Sure.
People see that and they see a chart that's just basically crashed all the way down, like a lot of the new launches that a lot of new layer ones and their tokens have seen. It's literally just like a chart that just goes straight down and plateaus basically, and tends towards zero. And that's obviously just not a good look for the blockchain, but also developers coming in. They don't want to, they don't want to see that. And I think, obviously you mentioned XRP has performed so well this year. It's one of the top performing coins this year. And that's obviously given rise to a lot of people building products around XRP, whether it's staking, for example, whether it's, all sorts of services. They're looking to actually capitalize on the momentum that's around XRP and that really strong community. And that's obviously a result of the token. And I think, that's only going to continue basically as the token continues to go upwards.
Folks, he said it in that clip. He said he knows for a fact that behind closed doors, legal teams and all of that are looking over XRP. It's got legal clarity, folks. Even right now, Bitcoin and Ethereum don't have real legal regulatory clarity. Only XRP does. And he basically said in that clip, they're behind closed doors and all the legal teams are looking at it and saying, all right, this thing's got clearance. Everything you've seen in this market has not been real. The real stuff has been hidden in plain sight. We've tried to show you while all of them tried to get you to look away. You're about to see it. People are about to find out. Just Infidelity's Solana ETF, Canary's XRP, and Hedera's ETFs are now listed on the DTCC platform. And then you got this. This is Matt Tuttle, CEO of Tuttle Capital Management.
But I thought, let's just jump right in on these crypto ETF filings I mentioned. So correct me if I'm wrong, I showed 10 filings from back in January. These are all 2 times leveraged ETFs, and they cover everything from that Trump meme coin I mentioned to XRP, Solana, Litecoin, Bonk. There are a bunch of these. And so first, let me ask, where do these currently stand with the SEC? And I'll offer the usual disclaimer. I know there's only so much you can say with certain filings, so I'll throw that out there. But what can you tell us about these?
Yeah, and actually, interestingly, they are all just about ready to go from an effectiveness standpoint. This is, as I'm sure you know, an entirely...
Here we go. Then we've got this, BlackRock exploring ways to tokenize ETFs, the world's largest ETF issuer. And I said, and they're not going to do it on Bitcoin because they can't, and they know it. This is one of those things I have to say out loud because I don't hear anybody else say it. The Doge ETF has been delayed and will go live tomorrow. This is from yesterday. In what kind of clown world does this go live before an XRP ETF? That's my question. But they're saying that Rex Osprey XRP ETF is supposed to launch today, so maybe the clown show goes live the same day XRP goes live. I don't know. Look at this. And I keep saying the same thing. Gary Gensler, if any of us did what Gary Gensler did, we would go to jail. When are they going to go after this guy? The Gensler SEC destroyed documents they were required to preserve and produce. We now have proof from the SEC's own Inspector General. Today we ask the federal court to address this gross violation of public trust to ensure that it never happens again. It's going to happen again until you put some of these people in prison. I don't know how hard this is to figure out. You've got to put these people away and let anybody else who thinks they're going to go into one of these regulatory bodies and act the same way, let them see it. Let them see these people in handcuffs. This is simple math, folks. If you have a child, you punish the child when they do something wrong so that they learn not to do it again. Simple stuff. Hold on a second. I think I might have cleaning ladies here. I might have to close this door. Hold on. Sorry, I have a bad habit of locking the door in the morning, and then the cleaning ladies end up knocking on the door and they can't get in. Anyway, just thinking ahead. Okay, and then you've got this. We tried to tell you, this is kind of goes in line with what Phil and Dom Kwok were talking about. We are exiting the speculative phase, folks, and entering the utility phase. This is David Strzelecki on a financial network. And then the XRP Army and Brad Garlinghouse have been telling you this for almost 7 years. I know I have.
Yeah, no, I am a fan of Bitcoin. I think it's going to rally. You know, it's a real asset. It is going to have real value in the future. The challenge is it doesn't transact. It doesn't solve the real world problems. There's other blockchain for that, but I think that Bitcoin is positioned well. It's just going to probably cool off for a second as real world applications come out here and new technology.
I think what we haven't seen yet that I still think we will eventually see is a separation of wheat and chaff of, you know, what are the assets? How are these technologies being used to solve real problems that have real demand versus ones, you know, I'll pick on Dogecoin. I don't get it. You know, other than Elon Musk as the central actor, you know.
And I don't get cartoon monkeys either.
I don't see the use case and the purpose. And I'm sure I'll get lots of shit for saying that Dogecoin's, but you know, oh well.
Okay, we're going to go into DAIXRP.com. That's the Patreon. If you'd rather join through YouTube, click join below any of these YouTube videos. If you'd rather join through X, hit subscribe. We do the full video, plus extended videos with no commercials. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, tell your friends and family. Away we go.